A patient with difficulty breathing was brought to the hospital. He had a high fever, was coughing constantly, and had symptoms of continuous vomiting. Occasionally, he would convulse like someone with rabies and did not respond to any medication. Before long, he stopped breathing and was covered with a white sheet and carried to the vehicle. This did not attract the attention of the medical staff. Soon after, a nurse fainted on the ground and was brought to the hospital, showing the same symptoms. He kept describing his condition and begged Dr. Abbey to intubate him for treatment. The doctors held a meeting to discuss the possibility of it being the Nipah virus. Shortly after, the nurse also showed no signs of life. The autopsy report on the nurse confirmed an infection with the Nipah virus. They quickly reported to the Ministry of Health, which promptly held an emergency meeting and established an epidemic prevention and control team. The Nipah virus is a zoonotic virus and one of the World Health Organization's top 10 priority diseases. It can be transmitted from animals to humans or spread between humans. The mortality rate is frighteningly high, and the most terrifying part is that there is no vaccine or any treatment plan. While they were discussing this, 2 more confirmed cases appeared. This virus has a 21-day incubation period, meaning that many people might already be infected but have not yet shown symptoms. The Ministry of Health quickly mobilized the military to lock down Kozhikode City. Next, they needed to clarify the list of any potentially infected suspects, roughly divided into 4 categories. The first category includes people who had direct contact with the patients. The second category includes those who have used the patient's belongings. The third category includes those who traveled on the same transportation as the patients. The fourth category includes those who stayed in the same room. As more and more people became infected, news of the virus spread. Next, minimize public gatherings. Do not attend weddings, funerals, or religious gatherings. Do not consume wild animals or fruits eaten by wild animals. After a series of investigations, it was found that a total of 2,853 people had contact history with the patients. This includes the patient's family members, neighbors, doctors, and nurses. This news caused panic among healthcare workers. Medical staff all wore protective suits to examine the patients. A sick woman asked, "Many people are infected, right? How are my child and mother doing?" The doctor told him not to worry, to rest well, and that he would soon be transferred to a regular ward. Not long after, the woman passed away. Handling her body became an issue. Due to the pandemic, it couldn't be directly handed over to her family. It needed to be taken to the crematorium for immediate cremation. However, the workers at the crematorium had no knowledge of the virus and needed training on how to wear protective gear and ensure personal safety. The staff were very afraid of the virus. One worker raised concerns. First, wages must be settled daily. Second, if anything happens, the government must take care of my family and children. Even with these conditions agreed upon, no one was willing to do the job. Babu, who had not received his wages for a long time, volunteered for the job in hopes of a potential permanent position in the future. During the pandemic in India, how should the bodies of those who died from the virus be handled? A man put on protective clothing, a mask, goggles, and rubber gloves, wrapped the body, packed it, loaded it onto a truck, took it to the crematorium, and directly cremated it in the furnace. Every day, so many bodies were burned that the crematorium's furnace was overwhelmed. They planned to take the bodies to other crematoriums for burning. On the way, when passing through a village, the vehicle was stopped by the villagers. "If you burn them here, won't you bring the virus to us?" The staff considered asking the police for help, but calling the police would only increase the villagers' panic. But they couldn't just drive around with the bodies. Babu came up with an idea. Since the crematorium wouldn't allow burning, they would find an open space at night and burn them there. At least this was a way to handle it. Sanjay's wife was infected. He hoped to see her one last time. With Abby's help, they put on protective gear and entered the hospital. Looking at his wife on the hospital bed, Sanjay lingered at the door, unwilling to leave. In the end, he took off his protective gear and lay down beside his wife, determined to die together. More and more people were getting infected, with a mortality rate exceeding 90%. Babu was constantly busy burning bodies and had no time to go home. People thought Babu was infected with Nipah and even refused to sell food to his family. The Ministry of Health went to the hometown of patient 0 to investigate. They intended to collect water samples for testing, but a large number of bats flew out. They then announced that Nipah might be spread by bats. In just 1 hour, the internet was abuzz, and TV stations were having heated discussions. First, they shut down all the wells, so no one could use water normally, claiming it was spread by fruit rot. Now, they're saying you can't eat this or that, seriously affecting people's lives. It's simply ridiculous. They still couldn't find the source of the infection. Where is it? They even started suspecting it was a bioweapon from an enemy country. Otherwise, how could patients appear in 2 hospitals at the same time? A female college student provided an important clue. Through her investigation, she discovered that patient 0 took his uncle to one hospital for a checkup in the morning and was sent to another hospital after falling ill in the afternoon. So, the people infected in both hospitals were actually infected by patient 0, not by some enemy country's bioweapon. The good news is that a batch of medicine has been shipped from Australia. Although there is no clinical data yet, it has shown some effectiveness against other viruses. In this situation, we can only give it a try. Some patients began to show signs of improvement. Just as everything seemed to be heading in a positive direction. In a remote village, Dahai, coughing, wanted to go to the hospital. The tricycle driver told him to get off immediately. As he waved to stop other drivers, the tricycle driver shouted, "Don't pick him up. He's infected with Nipah." For a moment, no one dared to take him to the hospital, and then Dahai was knocked unconscious with a stick. He was taken to the hospital by ambulance, where he began to have difficulty breathing and a severe cough. Soon, Dahai was diagnosed as Nipah positive. He had never been in contact with anyone else. Could he be a new patient zero? Some committee members once again suggested it might be an attack with a bioweapon from an enemy country. During the investigation of Dahai's family, his mother was very resistant, saying, "Stop investigating us. This will make others think we spread the virus. How will we live after this virus issue is over?" Fortunately, Dahai's younger brother was more reasonable and brought the staff to Dahai's room. Something suddenly caught the staff's attention. It turned out Dahai was a poacher, frequently hunting wild animals for profit. The Ministry of Health mapped out the overlapping areas of Patient Zero's and Dahai's recent activities, which happened to be the outbreak zone. Patient Zero was a wildlife protector, while Dahai was a wildlife poacher. What kind of relationship do the two of them have? A college student came to investigate. "Dahai, do you know the deceased patient number 1? When was the last time you ate wild game? Why doesn't he touch the money you give your mom?" Dahai started crying and said, "I'm about to die, and you won't treat me, yet you ask me these irrelevant questions. Is this how you practice medicine? Get out, all of you. Get out immediately." Restless at night, Dahai sneaked out of the hospital to drink with his friends and have fun. "You've been infected with the Nipah virus. Who would dare drink with you? Not drinking with me, huh?" Dahai picked up his friend's glass and took a sip from each one. "If I can't drink, then none of you will." On his way back on a motorcycle, he encountered police checking for drunk driving. Dahai said, "I have Nipah. You have to blow even if you have Nipah. Hurry up." So Dahai had no choice but to comply. Shortly after returning to the hospital, Dahai began to have difficulty breathing. He pulled out all the tubes from his body, and as he was about to leave the room, he collapsed at the door and died on the spot. In the subsequent investigation, they found counterfeit bills with the same serial number at both patient number 1's and Dahai's homes. It turns out that patient number 1 was a fake wildlife protector. They traded this batch of counterfeit bills through an ambulance. This is why Dahai got infected. The staff discovered a small animal called Gray Number Autumn in patient number 1's phone data. With the help of a zoologist, they identified it as a photo of a small fruit bat. It is the host of the Nipah virus, and the virus reaches its peak during their breeding season. Having thoroughly understood the transmission route of the virus, the Minister of Health personally went to the hospital to guide the work. 2 medical staff members fully recovered, and afterward, the minister held a press conference. During this fight against the epidemic, 21 medical staff members sacrificed their lives. They are all great warriors. Through everyone's joint efforts, we have achieved 0 new cases. I announce that from this moment, the Nipah virus alert is lifted. The audience erupted in enthusiastic applause. The movie, Nipah Virus, ends here. This is a 2019 Indian film based on the 2018 Nipah virus incident in India. There are a few points in the movie that I'm not sure are true. There are very few medical staff in uniforms in the hospital, and few wear masks. The transmission route of the Nipah virus was just discovered, and a patient was already cured. India's pandemic situation has come to an end. I have to say, that's very typical of India. If you want to see more great movie reviews, please follow me. Bye bye.
Yeah.